A millionaire woman was rushing down the sidewalk when she tripped, but when two homeless girls offered to help her up and tend to her injuries, she was shocked to discover who they were. The 12-centimeter heels echoed against the concrete. Click, click, click. The rapid pace highlighted Helena Montero's urgency to reach her next appointment. Her Hermes handbag swung from her right arm, while her left hand held the latest model cell phone. On the screen, red numbers danced. Stocks were plummeting again, taking millions with them in a matter of seconds. The cold, late afternoon wind tousled the grey strands escaping her impeccable bun. 58 years of discipline and control had shaped every detail of her appearance. The cream-colored Chanel blazer, the black knee-length pencil skirt, the subtle pearl necklace, each piece carefully chosen to convey power and authority. People stepped aside when they saw her coming. Her determined stride and upright posture created an invisible bubble around her. Nobody dared invade her space. Her thin lips, painted in a discreet shade of red, remained pressed in a tense line while her dark eyes scanned the numbers on the screen. The uneven sidewalk stretched out before her like an urban minefield. Street vendors shouted out deals on questionable merchandise. The smell of popcorn blended with the greasy aroma of hot dogs and the exhaust fumes from buses. Rushing business people tried to balance briefcases and coffee cups. Teenagers glued to their phones zigzagged absent-mindedly. A street saxophonist played Summertime in a melancholic version that got lost in the noise of traffic. Nearby, a man in a worn suit slept sitting up, using his briefcase as a pillow. A woman tried to keep 3 young children under control while juggling shopping bags. "Impossible, it can't be," she muttered to herself, eyes glued to the phone screen. The empire she had built over 3 decades was losing value in real time. Her stocks were plummeting faster than a rock in free fall. It was in that distracted moment that her heel found a treacherous crack in the concrete. The world spun in slow motion. Her phone flew from her hand, tracing a perfect arc through the air. Her purse slipped off her arm, its contents spilling onto the sidewalk like confetti at a grotesque carnival. Her body, always so composed, lost every bit of grace as she tried in vain to regain her balance. The impact was brutal. First her knees, then her palms, slamming against the sidewalk in an attempt to cushion the fall. Her head lightly struck the concrete, causing bright dots to dance in her vision. For a moment, everything went silent. The world stopped spinning. Lying on the dirty sidewalk, Helena felt something she hadn't experienced in decades. Complete vulnerability. Her knee burned where her stocking had ripped. Blood began staining the fine fabric. Her hands trembled, scraped and grimy. The perfect bun was now a tangle of grey strands. Her lipstick was smeared. Her dignity lay in tatters. People walked by, glanced, but kept moving. Some turned their eyes away, embarrassed. Others slowed their pace out of morbid curiosity, phones at the ready to record another urban tragedy. A teenage boy laughed, nudging his friend. An elderly lady shook her head in disapproval. Nobody stopped. The saxophonist changed his tune. The sound of silence now echoed, its melancholic notes hanging in the air like a premonition. Helena tried to move, but every muscle in her body protested. Her blurry vision registered her scattered belongings, lipstick rolling toward a storm drain, her leather planner lying open, revealing important appointments, coins clinking along the pavement. "Ma'am? Are you okay?" The voice was small, almost a whisper. Helena blinked, trying to focus. 2 girls were crouched beside her. They couldn't have been more than 5 years old. Their clothes were far too old, far too big. Despite the dirt on their faces, there was a delicacy to their features that made something in Helena's chest tighten. "We can help," said the second girl, extending a small, grimy hand toward her. Her eyes were a deep blue, almost violet. There was something familiar in that gaze, something Helena couldn't pinpoint, but which stirred dormant memories. The first girl was already methodically gathering Helena's scattered belongings. Her movements were precise, careful. The phone was retrieved with particular caution, checked for damage before being handed back. "Don't worry, we'll take care of you," she said, with a seriousness that seemed out of place for someone so young. Helena tried to sit up, feeling every fiber of her body protest. The girls supported her with surprising gentleness. Their touch was as light as feathers, yet firm enough to offer real help. The contrast between their small, dirty hands and the fine fabric of Helena's blazer was striking. That's when she noticed the details. The worn-out shoes, several sizes too big for their little feet. The rough haircut as if done with dull scissors. The dirt stains that weren't just from that day. And yet, there was a dignity in them, a strength that she recognized from some distant place in her memory. What are your names?" Her voice came out shaky, different from her usual commanding tone. The words felt strange in her mouth, as though she had forgotten how to ask kindly. The girls exchanged a quick glance before answering. In that brief moment, something unspoken passed between them, a silent communication only sisters can share. The taller one was holding the Hermes purse like a precious treasure, while the smaller one kept supporting Helena. The world around them maintained its frenetic rhythm. Cars honked, people chattered, the urban pulse carrying on in its chaotic symphony. Yet there, in that small circle formed by a fallen woman and two homeless girls, time seemed suspended. It was as if the universe had created a silent bubble where something important was about to happen. The street saxophonist, sensing the gravity of the moment, let the final notes of his song die gently in the air. The late afternoon sun cast elongated shadows on the concrete, turning three distinct silhouettes into a single, indistinct shape. "Sophia," said the girl holding the Hermes purse, "and this is my sister Clara," she added, indicating the smaller girl with violet eyes who was still supporting Helena. The name rang like a distant bell in Helena's memory. Sophia. There was something about that name, about that face, but the throbbing pain in her knee interrupted her thoughts. Clara, the younger of the two, examined the wound with the seriousness of a seasoned doctor. Her small, grimy fingers contrasted with Helena's pale skin, now stained with blood where the stocking had torn. "We need to clean this," Clara declared, taking a worn-out tissue from the pocket of her oversized coat. "Sophia, get the water." Sophia opened the shabby backpack on her back, revealing a crumpled plastic bottle half filled with water. Her movements were methodical, as if she'd done this hundreds of times before. Maybe she had. "This might sting a little," Clara warned, her voice so gentle that it made Helena's eyes sting for a reason entirely different from the pain. The tissue, though visibly used, was surprisingly clean. Clara carefully wet it and began cleaning the wound. Helena was taken aback by the delicacy of her touch. Those small fingers showed more care than many healthcare professionals who had treated her in high-end clinics. "You're lucky," Sophia commented, while methodically organizing Helena's scattered belongings. "Clara's the best nurse in the world. She always takes care of me when I get hurt." Helena watched the two girls working in perfect synchronicity. Sophia would hand Clara items without the need for words. It was like a well-rehearsed dance, born from necessity and survival. Do you do this often?" Helena asked, her voice still unsteady. "Help people?" "Whenever we can," Sophia replied, folding a clean tissue to make a makeshift bandage. "Our mom always says kindness doesn't cost a thing." Mom. The word hit Helena like a punch to the gut. Where was this children's mother? How could she let them roam the streets, dirty and poorly dressed, helping strangers? "And where is your mother now?" The question slipped out before she could contain it. The girls exchanged another telling look. Clara answered, eyes still on Helena's improvised bandage. "She's working. She's always working." There was something in the girl's voice, not bitterness, but a premature acceptance that broke Helena's heart. Children shouldn't sound so resigned. "All done," Clara announced, giving a gentle pat to the makeshift bandage. "Now we have to help you up slowly. Sophia." The two girls positioned themselves on either side of Helena, offering surprisingly steady support for such small bodies. The world spun a bit when she finally stood, but the girls kept her upright. "My purse," Helena began, but Sophia was already holding out the Hermes bag toward her. "Everything's here," the girl assured her. "We checked 3 times. Only the lipstick fell down the drain. We couldn't get it." Helena took the purse, noticing how Sophia had arranged its contents. Not only was everything there, but it was organized more efficiently than her usual system. How did you... Helena stopped, realizing she was about to question the girl's honesty. Something in their eyes made her swallow the words. You need to sit for a bit, Clara declared, pointing to a nearby cafe. You look really pale. That's not necessary, I can... Please, Sophia interrupted, her big, serious eyes fixed on Helena. Clara's right. You need to rest a bit, and... She hesitated, biting her lower lip. It's bleeding again. Helena followed the girl's gaze and saw blood beginning to seep through the makeshift bandage. Her legs trembled, and the dizziness hadn't quite passed. Okay, she conceded, surprising even herself. Helena Montero was not known for taking anyone's advice, let alone from homeless children. The girls guided her into the cafe as though they were her guardians. Sophia opened the door while Clara continued to offer support. The air conditioning hit Helena's face, making her realize how sweaty she was. Table in the corner, Sophia suggested, already leading their small group. It's quieter over there. Helena let herself be guided, noticing how out of place the girls seemed in the cafe's clean, orderly environment. A few customers threw disapproving glances, but the little ones seemed immune to it. You need some sugar, Clara declared, once Helena was seated. Sophia. I'll order some, her sister replied, heading to the counter with surprising confidence. Helena watched Sophia talk to the waitress, who initially frowned at the ragged child, but soon softened. There was a dignity about Sophia, something that transcended her worn clothes. Your sister is very capable, Helena remarked to Clara, who was still eyeing the bandage critically. Sophia takes care of everyone, Clara replied with a gentle smile, just like our mom. There it was again, the mention of their mother. Helena felt something stir in her memory, but before she could pursue the thought, Sophia returned with a cup of hot tea and a few sugar packets. On the house, she announced proudly. I explained what happened, and the lady at the register was really nice. Helena took the cup with still trembling hands, noticing that the girls hadn't ordered anything for themselves. Their stomachs growled almost in unison, but they pretended not to notice. Would you like something? Helena offered, feeling strangely vulnerable. The girl's eyes lit up for a moment before Sophia shook her head. No need, Mom. We just want to make sure you're okay. At that moment, the waitress approached with a tray holding 2 hot chocolates and some cookies. For the nurses, she said with a kind smile, winking at Helena. The girls' faces lit up, but they looked to Helena as if asking permission. Something in that look made her throat tighten. Go ahead, she said softly. You deserve it. While the girls savored their hot chocolates with the reverence of someone receiving a precious gift, Helena studied them with renewed attention. There was something about them, something beyond kindness and premature maturity, something familiar she couldn't name. The street saxophonist was now playing What a Wonderful World, his notes drifting in through the cafe door, providing an unlikely soundtrack to this surreal moment. Helena Montero, the woman who ruled financial empires with an iron fist, was sitting in a modest cafe with 2 homeless children who had shown her more humanity than many of her closest associates. The sun was starting to set outside, painting the sky in orange hues that made the girl's hair shine like polished copper. Helena realized she didn't want this moment to end. There were too many questions, too many mysteries, and above all, there was this persistent feeling that she was standing on the edge of something profound, something that would change her life forever. The hot chocolate left a brown mustache on Clara's upper lip. Sophia, with her trademark efficiency, wiped her sister's mouth with a napkin before Helena could even point it out. You need to change that bandage, Clara declared, turning her professional attention back to Helena's knee. It's starting to stain your skirt. Helena looked down. Indeed, a small red blotch was beginning to appear on the expensive fabric of her skirt. In any other circumstance, that would have enraged her. Now, strangely, it didn't seem important. There's a restroom over there, Sophia pointed out. We can clean it up properly. We have our kit. As if to prove her point, the girl opened her threadbare backpack. Inside, along with the water bottle, was a small transparent plastic box containing band-aids, gauze, a tiny bottle of antiseptic, and other basic first aid supplies. "Do you always carry this?" Helena asked, genuinely curious. "You never know when someone might need help," Sophia said with a seriousness that didn't match her 5 years of age. "Our mum taught us to always be prepared." Once again, that mention of their mysterious mother, Helena felt an inexplicable chill. "Shall we?" Clara was already on her feet, offering her small hand in support. In the cafe restroom, lit by merciless fluorescent lights, Helena finally got a good look at her reflection. Her once pristine bun was completely undone. Streaks of dirt stained her light blazer, and her face showed smudges where involuntary tears had ruined her makeup. Sophia locked the door, while Clara prepared the supplies with a surprising level of efficiency. The two moved in perfect sync, like a miniature medical team. "It needs washing first," Clara instructed, rolling up the sleeves of her oversized coat. Her small hands, despite the dirt under her nails, moved with surgical precision. Helena watched, mesmerized, as the girls cleaned her wound. Clara led the procedure, while Sophia supplied whatever materials were needed. Their coordinated movements were hypnotic. Then Helena started noticing little details. How Clara's coat, though old and far too large, had been carefully mended in several places. How Sophia's worn-out shoes were tied with perfectly aligned laces. How their hair, despite the uneven cut, was styled in simple but neat braids. "Ouch!" Helena couldn't hold back a cry when Clara applied antiseptic. "Sorry," the girl murmured, blowing gently on the wound to ease the sting. The gesture was so motherly that Helena felt a lump in her throat. "Our mum always does that when she cleans our scrapes," Sophia explained, noticing Helena's expression. "She says love helps you heal faster." Helena studied the girls' faces as they worked. There was something in their features. The way Clara frowned in concentration, the way Sophia bit her lower lip when holding the supplies, familiar gestures she couldn't place. "Are you two twins?" The question escaped her before she could stop it. The girls exchanged another one of their communicative glances before Sophia answered. "Yes. We were born the same day, but Clara came first, 5 minutes earlier. She never lets me forget that," Clara chimed in with a small smile, applying a new bandage over Helena's knee. There was something about their bond that went beyond mere sisterhood. It was as if they shared not just genes, but an ancient wisdom, a perspective on the world that 5-year-olds shouldn't possess. "All done," Clara declared, giving her trademark gentle pat on the bandage. "Now it'll heal properly." Helena examined their work in the mirror. The bandage was perfectly placed, better than many professional treatments she'd received in fancy clinics. "How did you learn to do this so well?" she asked, adjusting her skirt over her injured knee. "Our mum used to work in a hospital," Sophia answered, neatly replacing the items in the little box. "She taught us everything. She says knowledge is the one thing nobody can take away from you." Helena felt a strange flutter in her stomach. The phrase sounded far too familiar. Where had she heard it before? Clara was washing her hands in the sink, standing on tiptoe to reach the faucet. In the mirror, Helena saw the child's absolute focus, as though washing up was a sacred ritual. 20 seconds, Sophia noted, catching Helena's gaze. "You have to wash for 20 seconds to kill all the bacteria." Helena observed the two small girls, so young, yet so competent. Their precise movements, unwavering kindness, and disconcerting maturity. How could children living on the streets be so well looked after in certain aspects? "Your mum must be very proud of you," she said softly. The girls paused, their eyes meeting Helena's in the mirror. For a moment, something passed between the 3 pairs of eyes, an inexplicable connection, a mutual recognition that no one could name. "She is," Clara finally replied, her small voice carrying an enormous weight. "But sometimes she cries when she thinks we're asleep." Sophia put a protective arm around her sister. "She works a lot," she explained, as if defending their absent mother. "She does the best she can." Helena felt something break inside her. The image of these two girls, so young yet so resilient, caring for each other while their mother worked. It was wrong on so many levels. "Would you like to get something to eat?" she offered, surprising even herself. "As a thank you for helping me." The girls' stomachs rumbled in response, but their faces showed hesitation. "We can't," Sophia answered reluctantly. We need to meet our mom soon. She'll worry about us. But thank you, Clara added, her gentle smile lighting up the restroom more than the fluorescent bulbs. You're very kind. Kind. When was the last time someone used that word to describe Helena Montero? The girls were already heading toward the door, their small bodies carrying a dignity that made Helena's heart ache. Wait, she called out, reaching for her purse. At least let me... But when she turned around, the girls had already vanished, silent as evening shadows. Helena remained in the cafe restroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her knee still throbbed, but there was another ache in her chest, a feeling that something significant had just happened, something that would change her life forever. Outside, the saxophonist had started playing Moon River, his melancholic notes drifting through the walls like a reminder that certain encounters are meant to happen, even if we don't understand why at the time. Helena rushed out of the restroom, her knee protesting with every step. The girls couldn't have gone far, not with those tiny legs, not with those oversized shoes. There they were, by the cafe door, ready to disappear into the human current flowing along the sidewalk. Wait, her voice sounded different, almost pleading. Helena Montero never pleaded. The twins stopped and turned in perfect unison. Their little faces displayed a mix of curiosity and caution. Please, Helena went on, approaching slowly, let me thank you properly. Maybe a quick snack. Sophia and Clara exchanged glances, silently conferring. Clara was the one who answered. Our mom says we shouldn't accept anything from strangers. But I'm not a stranger anymore, am I? Helena argued softly. You took care of me. You even know my blood type now, she tried to joke, gesturing at the bandage. A slight smile appeared on Sophia's face. You're O-positive. We could tell from how your skin looked when it got scraped. Helena blinked, surprised. How could a 5-year-old know that? Please, she repeated. Just a quick bite. You must be hungry. As if on cue, the girls' stomachs growled in unison. Sophia bit her lip, glancing at her sister. Just a little while, Clara finally gave in. But we have to go before it gets dark. Helena led them back to the table in the corner. The waitress returned, her expression kinder now that she saw the girls again. What would you like to eat? Helena asked, watching how the girls looked at the menu with barely contained fascination. We can share a sandwich, Sophia suggested, as practical as ever. No, Helena was firm. Each of you choose whatever you like. And dessert too. The girls' eyes went wide. Clara whispered something into her sister's ear. Could we have a burger? Sophia asked hesitantly. With fries. And a milkshake? Clara added, her voice almost inaudible. Helena's chest tightened. What sort of life did these children have, where a simple burger seemed like an unattainable luxury? The orders were placed. While they waited, Helena observed the girls more closely. Their gestures were contained, polite. They sat up straight, elbows off the table. Who had taught them such refined manners, living on the streets? Your mum, Helena began cautiously. She works a lot, you said. Sophia nodded, placing a napkin on her lap. All the time, she cleans houses, takes care of sick people, does whatever she needs to do. Sometimes she's so tired she can hardly walk, Clara added, her violet eyes clouding with an ancient sadness far too deep for her age. And where do you stay while she works? The girls exchanged another look before Sophia replied. Different places, sometimes at people's houses that Mom knows, sometimes... She hesitated. On the street, Clara finished simply. Their food arrived just then. Helena watched, fascinated, as the girls waited for all the plates to be set down before touching anything. They split the fries equally, thanked the waitress with genuine smiles. What's your mom's name? Helena asked, trying to sound casual. Mariana, Sophia answered between carefully measured bites of her burger. The name hit Helena like lightning. Mariana. Images began dancing in her mind. A young woman in a maid's uniform, a positive pregnancy test, a heated argument, a door slammed shut. Mariana, she repeated slowly, and has she always worked as a housekeeper? Clara stopped sipping her milkshake. Her piercing violet eyes met Helena's. Do you know her? Helena felt her heart race. Maybe, a long time ago. She used to work in a big house, Sophia volunteered, wiping her mouth with a napkin. The lady was really rich and really mean. Sophia, Clara warned, but her sister went on. That lady kicked her out when she found out Mom was pregnant with us. She didn't even let Mom gather her things. Helena felt the blood drain from her face. The memory was crystal clear now. Mariana Santos, her housekeeper for 3 years. Young, efficient, polite, pregnant and single. A scandal that had to be avoided. Mom cries when she talks about that house, Clara said softly. But she always says it was for the best. Some people are rich in money but poor in soul. Helena watched the girls finish their meal, her stomach churning with the realization of what she'd done. These children, so kind, so well-mannered in spite of everything, were the daughters she had condemned to poverty with a single cruel decision. Do you know that lady's name?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Helena something," Sophia answered, taking the last sip of her milkshake. Mom doesn't like to say the full name. The silence that followed was deafening. Helena studied the girls' faces, searching for traces of the man who must be their father. All she saw was Mariana, her gestures, her dignity, her quiet strength. "It's getting late," Clara announced, looking out the cafe window. The sun was nearly gone, painting the sky orange. "Yes, we should go," Sophia agreed, starting to get up. "Thank you so much for dinner, ma'am." "Helena," she corrected automatically, then froze. The girls also stopped, their eyes widening in recognition. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. "Helena," Clara repeated slowly, her violet gaze piercing, just like... "We have to go," Sophia abruptly cut her off, grabbing her sister's hand. "Right now." Before Helena could react, the girls were moving toward the door, swift and silent, like city alley cats. "Wait," she called, struggling to stand. "Please, I need..." But they were already gone, swallowed by the crowd at sunset, leaving only folded napkins and empty plates as evidence of their passing. Helena sank back into her chair, her mind a whirlwind. Outside, the saxophonist was now playing Yesterday, his melancholic notes forming an ironic commentary on how the choices of the past come back to haunt us. The waitress approached with the bill but paused at the look on Helena's face. "They're special, aren't they?" she offered kindly. "They show up here sometimes, always polite, always looking out for each other." You see them often?" Helena asked, her voice shaky. "Every now and then. Usually late in the day, when their mom finishes her shift at the clinic nearby." Helena's heart leapt. "Clinic? Yes, where she cleans, a small clinic around the corner." Helena felt her heart pounding. 5 years of regrets and consequences were about to catch up with her. And this time, she couldn't just close the door. She left the cafe on unsteady feet, hardly feeling the pain in her knee. The street was calmer now, the rush-hour crowd dispersing into an almost surreal quiet. The saxophonist was gone, leaving only the distant echo of his music lingering in her memory. As she wandered without a clear destination, the memories Helena had buried for so long began to surface, vivid and painful as freshly reopened wounds. 5 years earlier. The Montero mansion shone under the morning sun, its large windows reflecting the light like polished diamonds. Helena remembered being in her office, reviewing financial reports when a soft knock on the door interrupted her. "Come in," she ordered without looking up from her papers. Mariana entered, her uniform impeccable as always, but there was something different in her posture, a nearly palpable tension in the air. "Miss Montero," Mariana began, her voice trembling slightly. I need to talk to you about something important." Helena finally looked up, annoyed by the interruption. She noticed Mariana's pale face, her hands twisting her apron, and the look in her eyes, a mix of fear and determination. "What is it, Mariana? I'm busy." Mariana took a deep breath, as though summoning all her courage. "Miss Montero, I'm pregnant." The silence that followed was deafening. Helena remembered freezing for a moment, her expensive pen hovering over the paper. "Pregnant," she repeated slowly, as if testing the taste of the word. "Who's the father?" Mariana lowered her eyes. He's no longer in the picture, ma'am. Helena stood, walking around her desk to face Mariana. She studied the young woman, no older than 25, employed at the mansion for 3 years, efficient, discreet, trustworthy, until now. You understand what this means, don't you? Helena asked, her voice cold as ice. Mariana nodded, tears forming in her eyes. I was hoping I could stay on, at least until the baby arrives. I promise it won't interfere with my duties and— Impossible, Helena cut her off. You know the rules. No scandals, nothing that could tarnish this household's reputation. Now, walking through darkened streets, Helena felt shame at remembering the icy tone of her voice, how easily she'd cast aside years of loyal service. The memory unspooled relentlessly, Mariana pleading, explaining she had nowhere to go, that her own family had disowned her upon learning of the pregnancy. Helena remained unmoved, instructing her to gather her things and be out by day's end. But Mom, Mariana sobbed, what about my wages? The weeks I've already worked. Consider it your severance. Be grateful I'm not deducting the inconvenience this will cause. Helena shut her eyes, feeling the weight of every cruel word she'd spoken. Back then, it seemed like a business decision, cold, practical, necessary. Now, with Clara and Sophia's faces etched in her mind, the injustice of her actions suffocated her. She recalled standing at the window, watching as Mariana left, a small suitcase in one hand, the other protectively over her still flat belly. No car waited to pick her up, no friend offered solace. Just a young pregnant woman, alone in a world that would be merciless to her situation. Helena stopped walking, leaning against a closed shop window. Her reflection stared back at her, disheveled hair, smeared makeup, eyes haunted by guilt. Who was this woman who had been capable of such cruelty? Clara's words echoed in her mind. Some people are rich in money, but poor in soul. Was that what she had become? A woman so obsessed with appearances and success that she'd lost her humanity in the process? She thought of Mariana, facing pregnancy alone. No support, no resources. She imagined the hardships, the slammed doors, the judgmental looks. And yet somehow, she had raised 2 extraordinary girls, kind, educated, resilient. The contrast between Helena's material abundance and the scarcity Mariana and her daughters lived with daily was glaring. Helena had everything, mansion, cars, overflowing bank accounts, but what had she truly built with all that wealth? What legacy was she leaving? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of children's laughter. A couple passed her, each holding a small child's hand. The family seemed enveloped in its own bubble of happiness, oblivious to the drama unfolding in Helena's mind. Then realization struck like a punch to the stomach. Sophia and Clara could have had that life, comfortable, secure, full of opportunities, if only she had chosen differently 5 years ago. If she had offered support instead of judgment, compassion instead of cruelty. Helena started walking again, this time with purpose. The clinic the waitress had mentioned couldn't be far. She needed to find Mariana, to try to fix what she had broken so long ago. But a nagging voice whispered in her mind. Was it even possible to repair such damage? 5 years of struggle, of deprivations she couldn't imagine. How could she make up for all that lost time? The city lights flickered around her, indifferent to her moral dilemma. People hurried by, each carrying their own story, their own regrets. Helena wondered how many of them bore a burden similar to hers. As she neared the street where the clinic should be, Helena silently made a promise. No matter what happened next, she would do whatever she could to right her wrong. Mariana and the girls deserved at least that. And maybe, just maybe, in doing so, she might reclaim some of the humanity she had lost along the way. The simple sign for the clinic glowed softly in the dusk. Helena paused at the entrance, her heart pounding. 5 years of unspoken regrets and unacknowledged consequences were about to come due. Taking a deep breath, she reached for the door handle. It was time to face the past and, she hoped, forge a different future. Helena hesitated by the clinic door, her hand hovering over the handle. The sign above flickered intermittently, mirroring her indecision. Community Clinic, St. Francis. The simple lettering read. With a deep sigh, she finally turned the handle. The interior was modest but clean, a vacant reception counter, a few plastic chairs forming a makeshift waiting area, posters about health on peeling walls. "May I help you?" A voice came from a side hallway. An older nurse emerged, eyeing Helena curiously, her expensive outfit now rumpled. I'm looking for Mariana Santos. I was told she works here." The nurse frowned. "Mariana, yes, she does the cleaning, but she left about an hour ago." Helena's heart sank. So close, yet. "Are you family?" the nurse asked, a mix of curiosity and caution in her gaze. "No, Helena hesitated. What was she to Mariana, really? Ex-employer, the villain of her story. "I'm an old acquaintance. It's urgent that I find her." The nurse studied her for a moment. "I'm sorry, but we can't give out personal information about staff." Helena nodded, understanding policy, but feeling a surge of frustration. She was about to turn and leave when an idea struck. "Her daughters are two little girls. Sometimes they come by, right?" Something in the nurse's expression softened. "Oh, the twins. Yes, adorable kids. They wait in the back sometimes while Mariana finishes her shift." "Were they here today?" The nurse hesitated, then shrugged. "They came by to get their mum, like always. They left maybe an hour ago." Helena thanked her and walked out into the street, mind racing. An hour. They could be anywhere by now. Standing on the sidewalk, Helena found herself at an impasse. Where to go next? How to find Mariana in such a big city? Her phone felt heavy in her pocket. With trembling fingers, she pulled it out and dialed a number she hadn't used in years. "Hello?" A cautious voice answered. "Jorge? It's Helena Montero." A moment of silence. "Ms. Montero." "This is unexpected." Jorge had been her chauffeur for a decade, retiring 2 years ago. If anyone knew the Montero mansion's secrets, it was him. "Jorge, I need information about a former employee, Mariana Santos." Another silence, longer this time. "The housekeeper you fired, the one who was—" "Yes." Helena cut him off, not wanting to hear the word. "I need to find her. It's urgent." Jorge sighed on the other end. "Ma'am, with all due respect, I think you've caused that young woman enough harm." Guilt hit Helena like a slap. "I know, Jorge. That's why I need to find her, to try to fix things." "Fix?" Jorge's voice dripped with skepticism. "After 5 years, please, Jorge, do you know anything? Anything at all?" A long pause followed, as though the ex-chauffeur were weighing his options. Finally, he spoke. "After she left the mansion, she stayed a while at Donna Zulmira's place." Helena frowned, trying to recall. "Zulmira, the cook?" "That's right. Zulmira took her in for a few months, until the baby was born." "Actually, until the babies were born?" "So you knew about the twins," Helena murmured. "Everybody knew, ma'am. You were the only one who didn't seem to want to see it." The words felt like another punch to the gut. How many people had witnessed her cruelty, silently judging her while she went on with her life, oblivious? "Where does Zulmira live now, Jorge?" He hesitated again. "Ma'am, are you sure this is a good idea?" "Please," Helena pleaded, her voice cracking. "I have to do this." Jorge sighed deeply. "Acacia Street, number 237, apartment 3B, but don't tell her I gave you the address." Helena thanked him and hung up, already hailing a cab. As the car wound its way through the nighttime traffic, her mind was in turmoil. She remembered Zulmira, the robust cook with calloused hands and an easy smile. How had she not noticed the connection between her and Mariana? How many other staff members had united to help the young pregnant woman Helena had cast aside so easily? The taxi stopped in front of a simple but well-maintained building. Helena paid and stepped out, her heart pounding. She climbed the stairs slowly, her injured knee protesting each step. At the door marked 3B, she paused. What would she say? How could she explain her presence after so long? Before she could decide, The door opened. Zulmira stood there, older and grayer now, but with the same kind eyes Helena remembered. "I saw you through the window," Zulmira said simply. "I knew you'd come one day." Helena felt her words failing her. All her power, all her eloquence, evaporated under Zulmira's knowing gaze. "Come in," Zulmira gestured. "We have a lot to talk about." The apartment was small but cozy. Photos on the walls showed a happy family, including a few of two little girls Helena immediately recognized. "Sophia and Clara," she murmured, touching one of the pictures. "Aren't they beautiful?" Zulmira commented, placing a kettle on the stove. "Smart, too. And kind for you, despite everything." "Despite me, you mean?" Helena said quietly. Zulmira observed her for a moment. "Have a seat, Helena. The tea will be ready in a second." Helena obeyed, feeling strangely small in the threadbare armchair. "Zulmira, I don't know where to start." "How about from the beginning?" the former cook suggested, taking the seat across from her. "Why now, after all this time?" Helena explained, meeting the girls, her fall, the revelation at the cafe. As she spoke, she felt the weight of her deeds grow heavier. "They're amazing," she concluded, her voice thick with tears unshed. "And I almost destroyed it all before it began." Zulmira listened in silence, her expression calm. When Helena finished, she stood to fetch the tea. "Mariana went through many hardships," Zulmira began, pouring tea into cups. "But she never lost hope, never let bitterness take over. Where is she now? How can I find her?" Zulmira took a sip of tea, considering. "She doesn't live far from here. A housing complex on Sunflower Street, number 42, apartment 15. Helena's heart sped up. So close. "But Helena," Zulmira continued, her tone serious, "think carefully about what you're going to do. Mariana has rebuilt her life. The girls are fine. Are you sure you want to reopen old wounds?" The question hit Helena like cold water. Was she really thinking of Mariana and the girls, or simply seeking to relieve her own guilt? I don't know," she finally admitted. "I just know I have to do something. I have to try to fix what I did." Zulmira nodded slowly. "Sometimes, Helena, the best way to fix something is to leave it alone." Her words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. Helena finished her tea in silence, her mind a storm of doubts and regrets. As she left, Zulmira held her arm. "Whatever you decide, remember, those girls are Mariana's greatest treasure. Don't do anything that might harm them. They've been through enough." Helena nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. As she descended the stairs, her mind wrestled between the desire to make amends and the fear of causing more harm. On the street, she looked up at the night sky, barely seeing the stars through the city's glow. Somewhere not too far away, Mariana and the twins were living their lives, unaware that their past was about to knock on their door. Helena closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. The decision she made now could change everything. Was she ready to face the consequences? She walked the quiet streets, the address burning in her mind like a branding iron. Sunflower Street, number 42, apartment 15. So close out yet so far. Night had fully fallen, and the city lights created a hazy glow in the sky. Helena barely noticed where her feet were taking her, her mind lost in a whirlwind of memories and regrets. Flashback after flashback hit her, each one more painful than the last. Mariana on her first day of work, 5 years ago. Young, eyes shining with hope, uniform impeccably pressed. "Ms. Montero, I promise you won't regret giving me this opportunity." Helena, barely looking up from her paperwork. "Just do your job and do it well." Mariana, 6 months later, presenting a detailed report on the improvements she'd made to the mansion's routine. "I managed to cut maintenance costs by 15%, ma'am, and the energy consumption is down by 20%. Helena finally paying attention. "Impressive. Keep it up." Mariana, a year later, timidly asking to leave early one day. "It's my mother's birthday, ma'am. I normally wouldn't ask, but..." Helena, annoyed by the interruption. "Fine. Go. But make up the hours on Saturday. The memories followed one after another, each one laden with Helena's indifference and coldness. How had she been so blind? She stopped at a shop window, her distorted reflection staring back. Who was that woman? The one who valued appearance and status over a young pregnant maid's life. The scene of the dismissal returned with full force, making Helena stagger. Mariana, tears in her eyes, one hand protectively over her still flat belly. "Please, Miss Montero, I have nowhere to go. My family, they don't understand." Helena, her voice as cold as ice. "You should have thought about that before. I can't have a single pregnant maid under my roof." "What would people say?" Mariana, voice breaking. "But I've always been loyal, I've always given you my best." Helena, merciless. "And now you're giving your best to someone else. Be out by day's end. You're fired." Nausea overcame Helena at the memory of her own words. How could she have been so cruel? She continued walking, the streets growing narrower, buildings more modest. She was getting closer to where Mariana lived now. Another flashback, more recent. Sophia and Clara at the cafe, their serious little faces while they tended to her. "Our mom always says we should help those in need," Sophia had said, "even if people haven't been good to us," Clara added. Helena leaned against a lamppost. The irony was crushing. Mariana, the woman she had so callously dismissed, had raised 2 children with more compassion and humanity than Helena had ever shown. Zulmira's words echoed. Mariana never let bitterness take over. How could someone go through so much and still remain kind? Helena tried to imagine herself in Mariana's place, pregnant, alone, jobless, scorned by her family. The fear, the uncertainty, the daily battle just to survive. And yet somehow, Mariana had not only survived, but raised 2 amazing kids. Kids who, despite living in dire conditions, never hesitated to help a stranger lying on the street. Helena felt something inside her break. Years of ruthless ambition, endless striving for status and power, now they seemed hollow. What had she truly gained? A cold mansion, bulging bank accounts, and a heart hardened by indifference. Tears began rolling down her face, and she made no attempt to hide them. There, on an unfamiliar street, Helena Montero finally allowed herself to feel the full weight of her actions. "My God," she whispered to the night, "what have I done?" In that moment, amid tears and crushing guilt, Helena felt something shift within her, an ember of something she hadn't felt in a long time, compassion, not just for others, but for herself as well. Yes, she had made a terrible mistake. She had been cruel and unfeeling. But now she had a chance to do something about it. Wiping her tears with the back of her hand, Helena straightened up. She looked around, getting her bearings. She wasn't far now. A few more blocks, and she'd be at Mariana's building. What would she say? How could she make up for 5 years of silence and neglect? She started walking again, each step a silent promise, to be better, to do better. She passed a small park where a few children still played despite the late hour. She pictured Sophia and Clara on the worn swings, laughing in spite of everything. The image made her heart ache. Finally, she reached Sunflower Street. Number 42 was a simple 4-story building with chipped paint and a poorly lit entrance. Helena hesitated in front of the door. What if Mariana didn't want to see her? What if the girls recognized her and got scared? Worse yet, what if her presence caused more harm than good? She closed her eyes, inhaling slowly. No, she couldn't back out now. Even if Mariana slammed the door in her face, and she would have every right, Helena had to try. She had to at least offer... what? An apology. Help. Redemption. With trembling fingers, she pressed the intercom for apartment 15. Seconds passed, feeling like an eternity. Then a sleepy voice answered, "Hello?" Helena's heart nearly stopped. Even after 5 years, she'd recognized that voice anywhere. "Mariana." Her own voice wavered. It's Helena Montero." The silence that followed was thunderous. Helena could hear her own heart pounding in her ears. Finally, Mariana's voice returned, now fully awake and loaded with emotion. "Ms. Montero. How? Why? Helena took a deep breath. This was it. No turning back. Mariana, I know I have no right to be here. I'm probably the last person you want to see. But something happened today. Something that made me realize how horribly I treated you. I met your daughters. Another silence. Helena could almost feel the tension through the intercom. The girls. Mariana's voice was now tinged with worry. Are they okay? What happened? They're fine, don't worry. Helena hastened to reassure her. Actually, they helped me. I fell on the street, and they were amazing. Mariana, kind, capable, caring. You did an incredible job raising them. A sigh on the other end. Ms. Montero, it's late. The girls are sleeping. I don't know what you want, but... Please, Helena interrupted, her voice breaking. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. 5 minutes to try, to start repairing what I did, or at least try to. The silence stretched so long that Helena thought Mariana had hung up. Then the buzzer sounded, unlocking the door. 5th floor, Mariana said simply before the line went dead. Helena stepped into the building, her heart hammering. Climbing the stairs, there was no working elevator. Each step felt monumental. What could she possibly say? How could she begin to describe the maelstrom of emotions, regret, guilt, a desperate wish to make things right? On the 5th floor, she stopped in front of apartment 15. She could hear movement on the other side. Summoning courage, she raised her hand and knocked softly. The door opened, and there stood Mariana, 5 years older, worry lines etched around her eyes, but still with that quiet dignity Helena had once admired. For a moment, they just stared at each other. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Helena in her expensive, now disheveled clothes, Mariana in a simple robe, hair tied in a messy bun. Come in, Mariana finally said, her voice neutral. The girls are asleep. I don't want to wake them. Helena entered the small apartment, feeling the weight of every decision that had led her here. This was the moment to confront her past, to build a bridge over the chasm she had created. As the door closed behind her, Helena knew her life would never be the same. For better or worse, tonight would change everything. Helena left Mariana's building with her head spinning. Their brief encounter had been intense, filled with contained emotions and words left unspoken. Mariana had agreed to meet with her again, at a neutral place, for a longer conversation. But first, Helena needed to prove her intentions were genuine. Words are easy, Ms. Montero, Mariana had said, her tired but determined eyes meeting Helena's. Actions are what matter. Those words echoed in Helena's mind as she began her efforts. Her first step was to contact her lawyer in the middle of the night, ignoring his sleepy protests. I need all the records we have on Mariana Santos, she instructed. Contracts, payment records, anything. And I want to know if there's any legal way to compensate her for what happened. The lawyer hesitated. Ms. Montero, let me remind you that legally, you owe nothing to this ex-employee. The termination was... I don't care about legality, Helena cut him off sharply. I care about what's right. Over the following days, Helena dove into a frantic search for information. She found that Mariana's records had been lost in a system update, a convenient excuse that now filled Helena with shame. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Helena went straight to the source. She visited the HR departments of every company where Mariana had worked over the last 5 years. Each time, she faced suspicion and red tape. Sorry, but we can't share personal employee information, was the standard response. In a moment of desperation, Helena even tried to bribe a staffer to obtain Mariana's file. The young man looked at her with a mixture of pity and disdain. Ma'am, I don't know why you're after Mariana, but she's been through enough. Leave her alone. Those words hit Helena like a slap. What was she doing? She'd become so obsessed with fixing things that she was ready to break more rules, cause more harm. She spent a sleepless night reflecting on her actions. By morning, she had made a decision. No more shortcuts, no more manipulations. If she truly wanted to make a difference, she had to change her approach entirely. She began visiting shelters for single mothers, asking about support programs, learning about the challenges faced by women like Mariana. Each story she heard felt like another blow to her old world view. Often all these women need is a chance, one social worker told her. A stable job, daycare for their kids, a little understanding. That can change lives. Helena absorbed every word, every lesson. She visited community daycares, spoke with educators, studied policies on maternity support in cutting-edge companies. One day, while waiting to speak with the director of a community center, Helena overheard a conversation that made her heart stop. Mariana, oh yes, she's an example for all of us, raising those girls on her own, always with a smile. I don't know how she does it. Helena cautiously approached. Excuse me, do you know Mariana Santos? The women eyed her warily. Who wants to know? Helena hesitated. How could she introduce herself? Ex-boss, a repentant woman. I'm someone who wronged her terribly in the past. I'm trying to learn how to do things right now. Something in her voice, in her vulnerability, must have touched the women. Slowly, they began sharing stories of Mariana, how she always found time to help other mothers even when exhausted, how she taught her daughters to be kind and generous despite their struggles. You know what Mariana always says? One of the women commented. Life is hard, but being bitter only makes it harder. Helena felt tears welling up. How could someone she'd treated so badly still be so good? That night, in her luxurious apartment that now seemed cold and empty, Helena made another decision. She took pen and paper and began to write. Not to Mariana, not yet, but to herself. I, Helena Montero, promise to implement maternity support policies in all my companies, to create a scholarship fund for single mothers, to donate a portion of my profits to shelters and community centers, to treat every employee, regardless of position, with dignity and respect, never again to let prejudice or appearances guide my decisions. The list continued, page after page. When she finished, Helena looked out the window. The sun was rising, painting the sky in pink and gold. A new day, a new chance. Her phone rang, startling her. It was her lawyer. Ms. Montero, we found something, an old payroll file. There's an address listed for Mariana Santos. It's not current, but it might be a start. Helena wrote down the address, her heart racing. It wasn't where Mariana lived now, but maybe it would lead to more clues. As she prepared to leave, she glanced again at her list of promises. It wouldn't be easy. Real change never is. But for the first time in years, she felt something she'd almost forgotten: hope. With one last look at the sunrise, Helena left, determined not just to find Mariana, but to become the kind of person worthy of her forgiveness. The cafe Mariana chose was modest, on a busy corner downtown. Helena arrived 15 minutes early, her heart pounding so fiercely it felt like it might burst. She took a seat at a table near the back, away from the windows. Her hands trembled slightly as she arranged a folder she'd brought. Documents, proposals, everything she had prepared over the past few weeks. At exactly 10 a.m., the cafe door opened. Mariana walked in, scanning the room until she spotted Helena. For a moment, she stood still as if considering walking out. But then, with an almost imperceptible sigh, she approached the table. Miss Montero, Mariana greeted her, voice neutral. Mariana, Helena replied, trying to keep her composure. Please, have a seat. Would you like anything? Mariana sat, but ignored the offer. Her eyes, once so full of hope and kindness, now carried a hardness that made Helena shrink inside. Why are we here? Mariana went straight to the point. What could you possibly want after all these years? Helena took a deep breath. Now or never. Mariana, I've come to ask for your forgiveness and to offer reparations for what I did. Mariana raised an eyebrow, her expression a mask of skepticism. Forgiveness? Reparations? Do you have any idea what I've been through these past 5 years? No, I don't, Helena admitted, her voice shaking slightly. But I'd like to know, if you're willing to tell me. Something flickered in Mariana's eyes. Anger, pain, or a mix of both. You want to know? All right, here it is. After you fired me, I spent 3 months sleeping in shelters. Pregnant, alone, abandoned by my own family. Helena felt every word like a knife. Mariana went on, her voice gathering intensity. I had to beg for temp jobs, scrubbing toilets, washing dishes, anything to survive. When the twins were born, I thought I wouldn't make it. 2 mouths to feed, no guaranteed roof over our heads. Tears formed in Helena's eyes, but Mariana didn't stop. Do you know what it's like to choose between food or diapers? To leave your newborns with strangers so you can work? To hear your babies cry from hunger and have nothing to give them? Mariana's voice cracked at that last part, and Helena couldn't hold back a sob. Mariana, I'm so sorry. Deeply. If I could go back. But you can't, Mariana interrupted, her voice now more controlled. What's done is done. The question is why now? Why after so long? Helena opened the folder she'd brought, hands shaking. I met your daughters, Sophia and Clara. They helped me when I fell on the street. They were so kind, so gentle. And then I realized the monster I had become. Mariana said nothing, her eyes locked on Helena. Since then, Helena continued, I've been trying to understand, to learn. I visited shelters, community centers, talked to single mothers, social workers, and every story I heard made me realize how badly I failed you. She slid some papers toward Mariana. These are proposals, a compensation fund for you and the girls, scholarships, a position at my company, if you want it, or recommendations wherever you'd like to work. Mariana looked at the papers but didn't touch them. And you think this fixes everything? That money erases 5 years of struggle and suffering? Helena felt tears rolling down freely now. No, it doesn't. Nothing can erase what I did. But it's a start at doing what's right, even if it's too late. Silence followed, deafening in its intensity. Mariana finally picked up the papers, flipping through them slowly. You know, she said at last, voice softer, there were times when I hated you, times I wanted you to suffer like I did. Helena nodded, speechless. But then, Mariana went on, I'd look at my daughters, so strong, so kind, so resilient, and I realized that, in some way, everything I went through made me a better person, a better mother. She looked Helena in the eye. I can't say I forgive you, not yet, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to, for Sophia and Clara's sake, to show them people can change, that mistakes can be corrected. Helena felt a wave of relief and gratitude so strong it nearly knocked her out of her chair. Thank you, she whispered. I promise I'll do everything in my power to be worthy of this chance. Mariana nodded slowly. We'll see. Actions, Ms. Montero. That's what matters now. As the two women continued talking, the weight of 5 years of regret and hardship hung between them. But there was also, almost imperceptibly at first, a small spark of hope. A hope for redemption, healing, and maybe someday forgiveness. The cafe had emptied out, leaving Helena and Mariana almost alone. The gentle hum of the air conditioning and the occasional clink of cups in the kitchen were the only sounds breaking the tense silence between them. Helena took a deep breath, summoning the courage to reveal what came next. She had to lay everything on the table, no excuses. Mariana, she began, her voice trembling, you deserve the whole truth. Not just about your dismissal, but about me. Mariana leaned forward slightly, her gaze fixed on Helena. I'm listening. Helena closed her eyes for a moment, diving into painful memories she had kept buried for years. When you told me you were pregnant, I didn't see you, not really. I saw myself 25 years ago. Mariana frowned, confused. Helena continued, I got pregnant young, too. Unmarried, terrified, with no idea what to do. But unlike you, I didn't have the courage to go through with it. The revelation hung in the air, weighted with emotion. I had an abortion, Helena went on, her voice almost a whisper, in a clandestine clinic because my family couldn't know. It was horrible, painful. It left scars I still carry. Mariana remained silent, her eyes now softened by a mix of shock and compassion. "When you told me about your pregnancy, all those feelings came rushing back: fear, shame, guilt, and instead of offering support, of being the person I wish someone had been for me, I lashed out with anger, with cruelty." Helena pulled out a tissue from her purse, wiping tears she hadn't realized were falling. "I wasn't firing you, Mariana. I was punishing myself, the scared girl I used to be. I projected all my what-ifs onto you, all the regrets that had tormented me for decades." Mariana reached out hesitantly, almost touching Helena's hand before pulling back. I had no idea. How could you?" Helena gave a bitter laugh. "I built this persona of a strong, ruthless, and successful woman, but inside, I was broken." She took a folder from her bag, placing it on the table. "Here are all the details of your dismissal, the real reasons recorded, the behind-the-scenes discussions. It's ugly, Mariana, shameful, but you deserve to see it." Mariana opened the folder slowly, her eyes scanning the documents. Helena watched her face move through shock, anger, sadness. They wanted to keep me," Mariana murmured, reading one of the reports. "HR argued on my behalf." Helena nodded. "Yes, many people saw the mistake I was making, but I used my power to silence them, to force my decision." Mariana closed the folder, her eyes meeting Helena's. "Why show me this now?" "Because you deserve the truth, all of it, no matter how ugly," Helena breathed deeply. "And because I want you to understand it was never your fault, Mariana. It was me, my demons, my fears, my inability to face my own past." The silence was heavy, charged with unspoken emotions. Finally, Mariana spoke. "You know, for years I wondered what I'd done wrong. I revisited every interaction, every conversation, searching for the moment I ruined everything. Now you know you never did anything wrong," Helena finished gently. "You were just a victim of my cowardice, of my inability to confront my own trauma." Mariana nodded slowly, absorbing it. "It's a lot to take in." "I know," Helena said, "and I understand if it changes things, if it makes it harder for you to forgive me or—" "Actually," Mariana interrupted, her voice surprisingly gentle, "it explains a lot. It doesn't excuse it, but it helps me understand." Helena felt an overwhelming wave of relief and gratitude. "Mariana, don't—" Mariana raised her hand. "I'm still processing this, but thank you for being honest, for finally giving me the answers I've needed for so long." They sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of their revelations hanging between them. It felt as though an invisible barrier had been removed, leaving them both vulnerable, but also more connected than ever. "What happens now?" Helena asked at last, her voice barely above a whisper. Mariana glanced at the cafe window, watching traffic outside. When she turned back to Helena, there was a new resolve in her eyes. "Now," she said, "we move forward. Not as victim and villain, not as ex-boss and ex-employee, but as two women who carry scars, who made mistakes, and who might learn from each other." Tears pricked Helena's eyes again, but this time they were tears of hope, of possibility. "I'd like that," she replied softly. Bathed in the golden afternoon sunlight, the two women began to talk, truly talk for the first time, about fears, dreams, regrets, hopes. It was the start of something new, something unexpected, a chance for healing, not just for Mariana and Helena, but for the wounds both had carried for so long. The sun was setting by the time Helena and Mariana left the cafe, both emotionally drained, yet feeling a sense of catharsis neither had anticipated. They walked side by side along the sidewalk, a contemplative silence between them. "Mariana," Helena began hesitantly, "I know I've asked a lot from you today, but I'd like to get to know the girls better." "The right way, this time." Mariana stopped, considering the request. Finally, she nodded. "All right. They should be coming from school around now. We can head to the park where they usually play." Minutes later, they arrived at a small urban park. From a distance, Helena could see Sophia and Clara on the swings, their laughter echoing in the crisp air. As they got closer, Helena felt her heart race. The girls were even more precious than she remembered. Brown hair swinging in the wind, eyes shining with excitement. "Mom!" they cried in unison upon spotting Mariana, running toward her. Then it happened. Clara tripped, falling to her knees on the sandy ground. Before Mariana could move, Helena was already crouched by the little girl's side. "It's okay, sweetheart," she murmured, helping Clara up. "Let's see that scrape." Helena examined the grazed knee carefully, remembering how the twins had cared for her in the street, but something made her freeze, a small birthmark above Clara's knee. A birthmark identical to the one her own son, gone for years, had in the exact same spot. The world seemed to stop. Helena looked at Clara, then at Sophia, who watched with concern. Their eyes, how had she not noticed them before? They were the same eyes as her Gabriel. "Helena?" Mariana's voice sounded distant. "Are you okay?" Helena stood slowly, her gaze shifting between Mariana and the children. "Mariana?" Her voice shook. "The girl's father. What was his name?" Mariana frowned, confused by the sudden question. "Gabriel. Gabriel Santos." "Why?" The name struck Helena like lightning. Her legs wobbled, and she had to lean on a nearby bench to stay upright. "Helena? What's wrong?" Mariana stepped closer, alarmed. "Gabriel," Helena whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "My Gabriel? What are you talking about?" Mariana asked, her voice a mix of confusion and apprehension. Helena took a moment to collect herself. "Mariana, I had a son a long time ago. His name was Gabriel." Mariana paled, realization dawning in her eyes. "No, it can't be. He ran away from home at 18, Helena continued, voice thick with emotion. "We had a terrible fight. I rejected him when he needed me most. I never saw him again." The girls watched, confused and a bit scared. Sophia clung to Mariana's sleeve. "Mom, what's going on?" Mariana hugged them protectively, eyes locked on Helena. "Helena, are you saying—" "The birthmark." Helena pointed shakily at Clara's knee. "It's exactly like Gabriel's. And their eyes. Mariana, they have his eyes." A heavy silence fell on the group, the pieces of a puzzle clicking into place in an impossible way. "But how?" Mariana finally managed. "Gabriel never told me. He said he was an orphan." Pain flared in Helena. "He must have considered me dead to him, after what I did." The girls, sensing the tension, clung to Mariana. "Mom, who is this lady?" Clara asked softly. Mariana looked from her daughters to Helena, her face a storm of emotions. Shock, confusion, and perhaps the faintest spark of hope. I don't know, honey. I really don't." Helena took a hesitant step forward. "Mariana, I know this is a shock for all of us, but if Gabriel was my son, then you're their grandmother," Mariana finished, her voice barely a whisper. The words hung in the air, laden with implications. Helena stared at the girls, her granddaughters, with fresh eyes. All the love she'd felt for Gabriel, all the regret for pushing him away, all the pain of his loss. It mingled now with an overwhelming wave of emotion at discovering these two little lives. I don't know what to say," Helena admitted, tears streaming freely down her face. "All of this, Max, it's too much." Mariana, still visibly shaken, seemed to wrestle with herself. Finally, she knelt down to speak to the girls face to face. "Sophia, Clara, remember when we talked about your dad? How he's in heaven now?" The girls nodded solemnly. "Well," Mariana continued, voice trembling, "it looks like your dad had a mother we didn't know about. And this lady here, she might be his mum." The twins' eyes grew wide, darting between Mariana and Helena. Sophia was the first to speak. "So, she's our grandma?" Helena's heart clenched at the innocent question. I would love to be, if you'll let me," she responded softly. Clara, always more cautious, looked at Mariana. "Is it okay, Mum?" Mariana wrapped her arms around both daughters, glancing over their heads at Helena. A whirlwind of emotions passed through her eyes, shock, confusion, but also a flicker of hope. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again as though searching for the right words. Finally, she drew a shaky breath and looked at Helena. I don't know, Clara. Everything's happening so fast, but maybe it's okay if we take this one step at a time. Helena stood there, heart pounding. She wanted to rush forward, to embrace them all, to beg forgiveness for everything. But she saw the caution in Mariana's posture, the uncertainty in Clara's eyes, and she knew she had to move slowly. I understand, Helena said gently. I'm here if you need me, if you have questions, if you want me around. She tried to smile, though tears still shone in her eyes. Mariana nodded, her voice a whisper. For the girl's sake, and maybe for your sake too, we'll try, but Helena, this changes so much. We have a lot to figure out. Helena swallowed hard, glancing from Mariana to the twins. I know, she managed. I'm ready for that, whatever it takes. The girls, sensing that the atmosphere was still tense, clung to Mariana. Clara spoke softly. Mom, do we have a grandma now like the other kids at school? Mariana felt her throat tighten. She gazed at Helena, this woman who had once cast her aside so cruelly, who might now be her daughter's grandmother. I guess we do, she replied, her voice wavering. Helena knelt down slowly, eye level with Sophia and Clara. If you'll have me, she said, her words trembling with emotion. I promise I'll do my best to be a good grandma. A better person. Clara reached out first, placing a small tentative hand on Helena's shoulder. Sophia followed, hugging her sister with the other arm. There was no grand moment of reunion, just a fragile step towards something new and uncharted. Helena closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the tender weight of those little hands. She remembered Gabriel's laughter, his stubbornness, his spirit, and felt both the pain of losing him and the joy of discovering this unexpected piece of him left behind. In the small apartment that evening, the mood was subdued except for the soft clinking of teacups on the kitchen table. Helena observed Mariana moving about, preparing a simple meal while the twins settled in the bedroom with coloring books. They finally calmed down, Mariana said, taking a seat across from Helena. It's been a long day for them. Helena nodded, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea she barely sipped. For all of us, she murmured, still trying to process that she was, in fact, the twins' grandmother. Silence fell, heavy, but full of unspoken questions. This time, Helena broke it. Mariana, about Gabriel. Can you tell me what he was like when you met? Anything you know about those years after he left home? Mariana exhaled, a distant look in her eyes. He was passionate. He wanted to help people, to change the world. He spoke about injustices, about how society turns its back on the less fortunate. She paused, looking down at her hands. He never told me much about his family, just that things ended badly. Helena's heart twisted. He wanted to be an activist. He was always fighting for some cause, animal rights, homelessness, poverty. Back then I thought he was throwing his future away. We fought, and he left. Mariana offered a sad half-smile. He never stopped caring about others. We met at a shelter where he volunteered. I was there doing some part-time work and we just clicked. He made me feel safe at a time when I trusted no one. Helena closed her eyes, imagining Gabriel strong and determined, comforting the vulnerable. How could she have missed seeing that fire in him for what it was, empathy, not foolishness? And when you found out you were pregnant? Helena asked softly. Mariana's cheeks flushed slightly. Gabriel was overjoyed. He said we'd figure it out, maybe start a little organization of our own one day, but her eyes glistened with tears. He got sick, Helena. It was sudden. By the time the doctors found out what it was too late. Helena's heart dropped. Gabriel had been sick. She thought he had simply vanished, found a new life, a new family. Her eyes brimmed with tears. I had no idea. Mariana wiped a tear with the back of her hand. He never contacted you because, in his mind, you wanted nothing more to do with him. He told me not to bother, said you'd be better off without us. The weight of Gabriel's words crashed down on Helena. She had driven him away so completely that even in his final days, he believed she didn't care. She bowed her head, tears sliding down her cheeks. I failed him, she whispered, and I failed you and the girls. Mariana reached out, gently placing a hand on Helena's. We all fail people we love sometimes, she said quietly. But we can try to make things right, even if it's late. At those words, Helena felt a faint surge of hope, like a tiny light in a dark tunnel. I'm so sorry, she repeated, though she knew no apology could ever truly mend what was broken. Let's take it day by day, Mariana suggested. For the girls, and for our own heart's sake. Helena nodded, wiping her tears. Day by day, she agreed. A small noise came from the bedroom then, one of the twins coughing in her sleep. Both women stood up instinctively. Helena hovered in the doorway as Mariana tiptoed in, checking on Clara, who was stirring. The girl blinked sleepily and murmured, Mommy, are you still there? Yes, sweetheart, Mariana whispered, smoothing the child's hair. Go back to sleep. Helena felt an ache in her chest as she watched the gentle affection. The motherhood she had once dismissed, Mariana's loving sacrifice and the twins' resilience, was now more precious than anything money could buy. After a moment, Helena stepped back, giving Mariana space. She returned to the living room, glancing around the small but cozy apartment, drawings taped to the fridge, well-worn blankets folded on a threadbare couch, the faint scent of homemade soup lingering in the air. This was the life Mariana had built, a life Helena had nearly destroyed with one cold decision. A wave of gratitude washed over her, that despite everything, these girls had grown up warm-hearted and strong. A few minutes later, Mariana re-emerged. She's fine, just a little dream, she said, sinking onto the couch. They've been through a lot. Colds, moving from place to place, but they're tough kids. Helena took a deep breath, summoning her courage. I want to help, not just with money, but however you need me. If you'd allow it. Mariana studied her, weighing the sincerity in Helena's eyes. We can talk about that. I won't lie. I'm still scared you'll change your mind, that this is just a whim. I understand, Helena said softly, and you have every reason to doubt me. But I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. In the quiet that followed, Helena noticed the faintest smile touch Mariana's lips. I can see that. Maybe Gabriel's daughters helped you find your heart again. Helena blinked away fresh tears. They did. They truly did. The clock on the wall showed it was close to midnight. Both women were exhausted, physically and emotionally. Helena stood up, smoothing her rumpled skirt. I should go, she murmured. You need to rest. The girls need you early in the morning, I'm sure. Mariana rose too, walking Helena to the door. They paused on the threshold, the air thick with unspoken words. Thank you, Ka, for listening, Helena finally said. For giving me this chance to try. Mariana nodded, arms crossed protectively. I'm not promising a fairy tale ending, but I won't lock you out if you're willing to put in the work. A shaky smile formed on Helena's lips. I will. Whatever it takes. Good night, Mariana. Good night, Mariana replied, stepping back. Helena felt the cool air of the hallway envelop her as the door clicked shut behind her. Standing alone in the dim corridor, Helena let out a slow breath. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of genuine peace. The path ahead was uncertain, but at least now she was on it, ready to face whatever challenges lay in store. 6 months passed since the earth-shattering revelation that changed the lives of Helena, Mariana, and the twins forever. Autumn painted the trees in shades of gold and crimson, an apt metaphor for the transformation each of them had undergone. Helena strolled through the park, Sophia and Clara skipping ahead, their laughter ringing out in the cool morning air. Mariana followed close behind, a soft smile on her lips. Grandma, look, Sophia called, pointing at a squirrel scurrying along with a nut in its mouth. I see it, sweetheart, Helena replied, her heart swelling with joy at the simple word, Grandma. They sat on a bench while the girls ran off to climb on the playground equipment. Helena and Mariana watched them in comfortable silence. It's still hard to believe sometimes, Mariana said quietly. Helena nodded. I know. Feels like yesterday we were at that cafe, weighed down by so much hurt. The past few months had been an emotional roller coaster. Moments of tension, tearful arguments, and painful memories, but also laughter, hugs, and a gradual building of trust. Helena had kept her promise to take responsibility, not just financially, but emotionally. She moved to an apartment near Mariana's, always available to help with the girls. "Remember when Clara got sick last month?" Mariana asked, smiling gently. Helena chuckled softly. "How could I forget? I think I stayed up all night, checking her temperature every half hour. You know you didn't have to do that, right? I was there." "I know," Helena admitted, her gaze distant. "But it was something I needed to do, for Clara, for you, and for myself." Mariana placed a gentle hand on Helena's arm. "You've been wonderful, Helena. The girls adore you." Helena felt tears prick her eyes. "They mean everything to me, Mariana. They and you have given me a second chance I never knew I needed." They both watched as Sophia helped Clara climb a small slide, the older twin protecting the younger. It was such a simple, pure scene that it made Helena's chest tighten with love and gratitude. "You know," Helena began hesitantly, "I've been thinking." Mariana turned toward her, curious. "About what?" "I'd like to set up a fund," Helena explained, "not just for the girls, but for other children in similar situations, for single mothers, families in crisis." Mariana's eyes widened. "Really?" Helena nodded. "I thought about calling it the Gabriel Foundation, to honor his memory and continue the work he cared about." "Helena, that's incredible," Mariana said, visibly moved. "And I want you to run it," Helena added. "No one understands the needs of these families better than you." Mariana was at a loss for words. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Helena smiled. "Together we can make the difference Gabriel always hoped to make." Just then, the twins ran back, throwing themselves into the arms of both women. "Mom, Grandma, did you see? I helped Clara on the slide," Sophia exclaimed proudly. "We saw, sweetie," Mariana said, hugging them. "You two are so brave." Helena watched the scene, her heart nearly bursting. She thought of the immense changes in her life. Once a cold, calculating executive, she was now a doting grandmother and friend, someone who genuinely wanted to make the world a better place. "How about some hot chocolate?" Helena suggested, rewarded by the twins' squeals of excitement. They walked to a nearby cafe, Sophia and Clara chattering non-stop about their day at school. Helena smiled, remembering her own transformation, one triggered by a stumble on a sidewalk, and two little girls who had shown her more kindness than she'd shown the world in years. Over steaming mugs of cocoa, Helena watched Mariana and the twins, Sophia helping Clara blow on her hot chocolate, Mariana laughing at their cocoa mustaches. She felt a rush of gratitude for every hardship that had led to this moment. "Thank you," Helena said softly, looking at Mariana once the girls were absorbed in a playful argument about whipped cream. Mariana tilted her head. "For what?" "For giving me a chance, for letting me be part of this family, for showing me what really matters in life." Tears glistened in Mariana's eyes. "We should be thanking you, Helena. You showed us that people can change, that love can overcome even the deepest wounds." Helena reached across the table, gently squeezing Mariana's hand. "We're a family now," she said, voice trembling with emotion. "Not perfect, but ours." "To our family," Mariana agreed, raising her cup in a small toast. "To our family," Helena echoed, her heart filled to the brim. The twins, catching on, raised their mugs too, spilling a bit of hot chocolate and dissolving into giggles. As Helena dabbed at the spilled cocoa, she marveled at how a simple misstep on a busy sidewalk had changed her entire life. She had been given a second chance at motherhood, through grandmotherhood, and found a path to redemption she never thought possible. Gazing at Mariana and the girls, Helena silently vowed to live each day with gratitude, love, and compassion. She would use her resources and influence to improve the lives of others, honoring Gabriel's memory by continuing the mission he had only just begun. Above all, she would never again take for granted the transformative power of love and forgiveness. In the end, Helena realized that's what truly makes us human. Our capacity to love, to forgive, and to start over, no matter how daunting the journey may seem. As the autumn sun streamed through the cafe window, illuminating the smiling faces of her newly found family, Helena knew this was not an ending, but a brand new beginning. The road ahead might still hold challenges, but it would be paved with hope and, at long last, with love.